every 3 years. Every 3 years I get depressed. Every 3 years I feel sad. Every 3 years I feel defeated. Every 3 years I stare into the abyss as I slowly contemplate the meaning of my life, as the thought of suicide lingers in the back of my head. Every 3 years. Every 3 years I find myself thinking, what's the purpose? What's the meaning? Why do we exist? Every 3 years I feel miserable. I feel like a sack of shit. I feel like a loser. I feel like a meaningless, worthless worm. Like a maggot. Like bacteria on a petri dish. I feel like an ant that's being stepped on, that feels the weight of the universe. Every 3 years this happens. And every 3 years I'm forced to stare the devil in the face, to look myself in the mirror, to stare deep inside my own soul and act. Every 3 years. In 2016, I went through a really depressing period. I was doing YouTube at the time and I was very motivated. And my escape from reality back then was the discovery of music. And at the time, trance was something that I became addicted to, and it still is an anthem for my heart to this very day. Back then it was a culmination of things, but the result of finding this music genre, which I loved so much, was that it catapulted my success on Twitch. It became my favorite streaming music and very quickly perpetuated me into, well, greatness. Fast forward 3 years to 2019, when I hit rock bottom once again. This time it was a result of several crashes on the bike and a broken heart, having gone through a very difficult breakup with the first girl I ever had. And this entire story is very well documented in my How My Gaming Addiction Saved My Life video. You see, in life, when faced with certain adversities, you will often resort to one of the 3 methods of dealing with them. My favorite method was always flight, meaning, you can't beat me if you can't catch me. And I've always loved running away from my problems. That's why the bike was really a brilliant way to do it. You got a problem at home? Go for a ride. Got a problem at work? Go for a ride. Got a problem with your love life? Go for a ride. But flying away from all these problems isn't always the best way. In fact, the majority of people actually go and opt out for option number 3, which is the worst one, and that's freezing. The option we often forget about. But yeah, the deer in the headlights exists, and a lot of humans react that way. Now, back in August, I felt a little bit like the deer. I was starting to freeze a little bit. I was starting to stagnate. I was starting to move backwards in life. And I had to make a crucial decision. And I made several crucial decisions. And then I started to regret the choices, because what I had done is I went from the freeze scenario to the flight scenario. And I had created an episode of disproportionate depression, let's say. You see, in a span of a week, I went from being the person who claims that depression is just a comfort zone, that it doesn't exist, that life's very beautiful and easy, one shouldn't feel sad at any point. In 1 week, I went from that to being that lonely sack of shit, laying in my bed, sleeping for 12 hours a day, feeling miserable. I even thought about suicide. For the first time in my life, I actually did think about suicide. Vaguely, I did. I still remain very much in favor of that. The only way I'd ever want to commit suicide is by jumping from the balloon like Felix Baumgartner, and then as I crash into Earth, the Earth explodes and humanity ceases to exist. That would be the only way I'd actually be willing to go out. But rest assured, I know what depression is. I've been there. I was in that hole for a whole month. I was in that shitter. I recently came across a couple of bits of statistics which are frightening, to say the least. I mean, the number of males that commit suicide successfully is scary. One of the worst numbers I've ever come across to see was to do with, I believe it was Tinder statistics, where the average man finds 80% of all women attractive, right? And men on average will swipe 60% of women as attractive. That means that if I show you pictures of 10 girls, you will choose at least 6 of them to be favorable. For women, that percentage was 4.5%. 4.5%. You know what that means? That means that for your average woman, you put her an option of 100 men, she will choose 4.5 of them. 4.5 men out of 100. That statistic is frightening. And I can tell why. Because the average guy is no longer a guy. Because I know what I was like 3 years ago, I know what I was like 10 years ago. Now, I wasn't overweight, I was underweight. There's no difference, it's the same thing. Either you're a skinny, scrawny dude, or you're a fat fuck guzzling down on Gatorade, sitting behind a computer all day, ain't doing yourself any favour. The way that you stand, the way that you position yourself, the way that you commend yourself, the way you use your voice. Something somewhere has clicked, and I think men have started to pick up on this, and it's brilliant, and I'm joining in, because I can't stay quiet no more. My self-improvement journey started back in 2020, and I feel that even though I've made tremendous progress, I still have relapses. I still have those moments where I feel like I want to, jerk off to a nasty porn, or I want to drink Red Bull or whatever, or watch a shitty movie, take drugs, be lazy. I'll work out tomorrow because it's easy. And it's the same kind of easy that perpetuates that state of depression and sadness and loneliness and bitterness and, the whole world freaking sucks and everything is worthless and I'm worthless and, right? And then it snowballs. Life snowballs in both ways. It snowballs into the positive and also snowballs into the negative. But it's not all dark. You see, what I realize is that because humans love making problems and then selling solutions for it, one of the benefits that we have to understand is, and I think the reason why I had my depressive episode, the reason why I dug myself a hole and then went to stand in it, willingly, knowingly, is because when you're in this pit of darkness, when you're in this depressive phase, and you look up, you only see like 3 or 5 most important things in your life. You'll see your family, you'll see your health, you'll see you, maybe the woman you love. Things are important, your goals, your aspirations, your desires, your dreams. It will no longer be about those daily nuances, about the unimportant things. It filters. Essentially what you do, what you have the ability to do when you are at your lowest point, is somewhat similar to doing a fresh install on your computer, where you delete all the bloatware, you get rid of all the apps you don't use, you get rid of all the games you don't play. It's like cleaning out your room. There's a reason why, for example, Jordan Peterson will say the first thing you should do is make your bed in the morning. Clean your room. Do what you can do, and it will snowball into the next thing. I want to prefix this, and I want to end this by one of my favorite Latin quotes of all time, which is lex parsimone, otherwise known as Occam's razor, and that is that the simplest solution is usually the best one. And it works. I believe life doesn't have to be complicated. And I've even began writing a book that's called Simplify Life. And it's a set of rules that I'm going to try to implement over the year 2023. Simple rules. Keeping things really basic, going down to the core, going down to the person that matters. And ironically, step number 1 is to become egotistical. You have to start from within. If you're flying on an aircraft, right, and the oxygen levels fall down and the masks fall down from the cabin, do you put them on your child first? You put them on your partner first? No, you have to save yourself first before you can save others. But in this daily age, we are being taught, help others, do this for others, give your love to others, be more emotional, be more feminine, be more... And you do all these things, and you still feel miserable, and you still feel weak, and you still feel unimportant. It's because you have to work from within. As a man, you have to find inner peace, and then you can help others. And not just will that give you triple, quadruple the actual fulfillment? You'll be successful at it. Because what you're doing right now is you're trying to save the person who's drowning. And what ends up happening is, and this is something that lifeguards have a huge problem with, when there's a person who doesn't know how to swim and they're drowning and you try to save them, there's a very high chance you're both going to drown. If you don't believe me, look it up. It's a real scary scenario that can occur. And I think same thing happens sometimes in life, where we try to help somebody when we yet have not reached a safe level, where we haven't yet clicked that checkpoint and said, okay, I'm now level 3, I'm saving my game here, I'm gonna go venture out into the distance and worst case scenario, come back to where I am. A lot of people, they crawl all the way to level 3, they're almost there, let me just help this one more person and then I'll click save. And it fucks them up. Now I've done it, guilty multiple times. And when it doesn't work, change the system. Otherwise, so that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So if there's anything that you can take from this video today, lex parsimone. Occam's razor, simplest solutions are usually the best ones. Actually, let me leave you with something. Let me leave you with a little bit of a masculine gift. See, one of the rules that I implemented in the past month, in fact, I started in December. 1st of December is when I started this. Right now is the 22nd of December that I'm recording this, which means 22 days of work following one simple rule, which is 100 push-ups a day. That doesn't mean I do just 100 push-ups. I'll do 100 push-ups split up in 12, maybe even 20 sets. Doesn't matter. In between, I'll work on my arms, I'll work on my abs, I'll do a couple of crunches, I'll do a couple of pull-ups. But in 22 days of work, I've been able to attain this. Now you tell me, this isn't impressive for 22 days of work. And I know that if I can do this in 22 days, what can I do in 6 months? What can I do in a year? What can I do if I spend 10,000 hours just working out instead of playing War Thunder like I did? Think about that for a minute. Think about where you would be and what you could become if you just put down your foot, if you fight for it instead of flying for it. That's it for today. I hope you have a good one, and Merry Christmas. Now I know what you're thinking, oh my God, this dude talking about depression again. I think it matters a lot more.